Hey guys, and welcome back to FTB Interactions, where last episode we done a little live stream. Thank you for tuning in if you did. Also, since we're near the end of FTB Interactions, it's also time to start thinking about the next pack we're going to play. So on stream we done a poll for what you guys wanted to see for the next pack. The link for that poll will be in the description of this video, and I think we'll close it after we finish Interactions. We're going to do a quick recap of what's changed and what we done on stream, but the wee timestamps to skip ahead. So the first thing we crafted is this Draconic energy core. This is capable of storing up to 2.14 trillion RF. Right now we're about almost approaching 30% capacity, which is not bad. We also swapped out all of our flux networks into two separate networks. So we have one for the input, that's on the yellow. These are connected to all of our power producers, so one on the diesel gens, one is hooked up to the steam turbines, and the last one is on the plasma turbines. These all handle all of the power input. And then on the output pylon, we have the RF network that we were using before, and this is connected to all the different setups and power the whole base. So you can see here we're currently drawing passively about 130-ish RF a tick, which is not so bad, but we are in a surplus of about 100 or 1.6 million, so we have plenty of headroom left. As you might have noticed, we also cleaned up around this area. I still have to move these chests before the end of the game, but yeah, we cleaned this up, tried to get this finished off a bit more. I added some more crafting CPUs. Not that we actually needed them, it's just more for the aesthetic to balance out the look of the room. In the previous episode, we worked on getting Draconium as well as Neutronium from GregTech. And during the live stream, we worked on the other version of Neutronium from Aurellia. And to get this Neutronium, it involves farming chickens on Aurellia, so let me show you that little setup. Alright, so we're here on Aurellia where we have our Neutronium farm. And as you can see, we got 3 ender chickens down there. And so the way this works is the ender chickens are trapped with illumination blocks from Astral Sorcery. And as long as these chickens are within, I think it's 3 blocks of antimatter, which we have underneath them. There's a layer of antimatter under there. They will actually take damage and drop tiny piles of neutrons, which is then picked up by this collector and put in the ender chest. But to keep them alive and have them infinitely drop piles of neutrons, we have this ritual up here, which is a collector crystal attuned to Avitas, which will heal every entity in the area. And this is enough to keep them alive, and as you can see, their health bar isn't going down, which is exactly what we're after. These guys we summoned using the summoning altar. It did take a dragon egg, but you get 3 of them per summon. But we shouldn't have to summon anymore, as long as these guys stay alive. So yeah, we got this place chunk loaded, and that ender chest goes to over here in the base, where it's hooked up to a cache. And this just has a storage bus on there. However, to convert the tiny piles of neutrons into nuggets and then eventually ingots, we have to use the implosion compressor. So we already had this machine sitting here. We've hooked it up now to applied energistics to encode the patterns. And as you can see by the recipe, this also takes 16 TNT per 4 nuggets. And then I think it's another 32 for the ingot. Yeah, this is a lot of TNT. So effectively it's 48 TNT for 1 neutronium ingot, and we need a lot of these ingots. And the TNT recipe is sulfuric acid plus gelled toluene. So to speed things up, we've added this chemical reactor IV to make the TNT. But we also realised that we need a lot more toluene than what we were producing. So before, the way we were getting toluene was by fluid solidifying the fluid into the gelled toluene. But I realised there was this more efficient chemical reaction recipe, where if you mix the fluid toluene, some sugar and polyethylene pulp, you actually get 2 for every 133 millibuckets of input. Whereas before, this is just 1 to 1, or 100 millibuckets to 1 piece of gelled toluene. So we moved the toluene production over to this area of the base. And the way we were getting toluene before was in the distillation tower with steam cracked naphtha. We actually still have this set up. This only gives us, however, 20 millibuckets for every 1000 millibuckets of naphtha. So to boost that, we added this little setup. So in here we are steam cracking light and heavy fuel. This one down here is just a fluid heater for steam, and that gets output to these 2 chemical reactors. They then go into these 2 distilleries where it makes toluene, which then all goes into this chemical reactor, which receives the polyethylene pulp and the sugar. The sugar we're getting from centrifuge and beets, and then this is all just on ion conduits going up the centre. So the sugar goes in the chemical reactor, and then we are taking polyethylene sheets, which we're producing way back in episode 9 maybe, I don't know. But we're taking polyethylene sheets, converting that into pulp, and that goes into the crafter to convert to tiny piles, and then that goes into also this chemical reactor. And this gives us our gelled toluene, which goes into this little cache over here with a storage bus. And then all of that is sent back to this chemical reactor to make the TNT. So all of that boosts our toluene production. However, we did run through all of our backlog of light and heavy fuel. So depending on how much neutronium we actually need, I haven't quite calculated it all out yet, we may have to make some more light and heavy fuel. Apart from that, I've been doing a little bit of cleanup around the base. You may have noticed some changes. I don't know exactly what's changed between these episodes, but I wanted to try and finish off some of the little areas where missing roofs. Yeah, just trying to clean up before the end of the pack. We still have to do the terraforming, but I think I'll do that once I finish the pack, basically. So yeah, the next goal for us is to work towards the Infinity Chicken. We may not get here today, because there's still a few steps we need to take before we can get this thing. But once we have the Infinity Chicken, this makes the end of the game way easier, as once we have the eggs, it gives an easier way of getting molten infinity. We can autoclave into Neutronium. We can even create Awakened Draconium ingots using Thaumcraft, and provides a really easy way to get red matter. And I guess you can also put it through the Infernal Deconglomerator for a bunch of dust's outputs. So yeah, for the chicken we need a Chaos Shard, which we actually have. I think we have 5 of those things. We need stem cells, which we have fully automated. 8 Neutronium blocks, which, again, I'm not sure about the TNT, so I think we'll come back to this. The 16 crystal clusters, this is just some tungsten steel with some will from blood magic, of which we'll actually need 20, as we need 4 to upgrade our blood magic altar. Let's see if we can request these things. It looks like we can. The chicken also requires 3 fluids, which is Teflon, lubricant and primal mana. All of these things are no problem, which leaves the infinity blocks, the corrupted glitch hearts and the awakened draconium. So let's start with the awakened draconium, and this takes charged draconium blocks, which in this pack we have to charge in the sky cauldron. And this little multi-block over here, well, it's actually quite a big multi-block, it's one of the biggest multi-blocks. But yeah, this is the sky cauldron, and this is going to charge our draconium blocks. So I've hooked up an ME connection over here, where we have a fluid interface to supply starlight. And this actually takes 50,000 millibuckets per piece of charged draconium. So it's quite expensive. We may have to buff the starlight, but we have quite a big backlog, so I don't think it'll be an issue. But yeah, that gives us the fluid. The inputs are on the left-hand side here, where we have another interface to supply the pattern, which is blocks of draconium, which we made last time in the fusion reactor, and flux, which is just flux crystal, infinity dust, platinum dust, and antimatter in a mixer. We already have this step automated. And the output just goes from the output hatch here into another ME interface and back into our system. So now we can request charged draconium blocks. That's going to put it into this sky cauldron, and as soon as it realizes it has an input, this thing is quite slow. Yeah, it's fairly slow, but it's automated, so yeah, that's the first step in Awakened Draconium. The next part of Awakened Draconium is the Dragon Stones, which is made through the Elven trade, and this is mana diamonds to convert to Dragonstone. And mana diamonds is just flawless diamonds, of which we have loads and loads of from ore processing. Yeah, we have 4,000 flawless diamonds. So assuming we have enough mana, we can convert these into the Dragonstones, just by throwing them through the portal. Alright, so the next step is Crystal Matrix Ingots, and this is done in the Blast Furnace, with some nether stars, some diamond lattice, and starlight. So let's set up a Blast Furnace for this. Alright, so we got a brand new Blast Furnace here. This is the first one actually that's out of that room. But we had to fill up this space with something. The other side is our multi-smelters. So yeah, I decided to use fusion coil blocks, not because it's actually necessary, but just because we actually had them. And this will allow us to put more recipes in this blast furnace later on. But this step we're just going to do on demand. And we're running this thing at ZPM, so this thing should be whizzing. So yeah, on the bottom we have the fluid interface for starlight, which goes into the input hatch on the bottom. On the left we have the interface to collect the output from the output bus on the blast furnace. And on the right we have the one to supply the pattern for Crystal Matrix ingots. But there's one more thing that we need for Crystal Matrix, and that is the Diamond Lattice. And in this pack it's star metal screws, diamond plates and infused diamonds. Which means we need a few recipes, and I don't know if we're going to have enough star metal ore. We may have to find a way of getting some more of this stuff. I mean, I guess there is this recipe here, but I think we can find it as ore on one of the planets. I could be wrong about that though. But this does take screws, which is not even a full ingot, I don't think. We get the bolts 8 at a time for 1 ingot, and then 2 bolts makes 1 screw. Or no, it's even 1 bolt per screw. So yeah, it's pretty cheap in terms of the star metal cost. And the infused diamonds takes dimensional shards with diamonds in a energized glowstone assembler. Oh yeah, we've got one here at EV. We can add the pattern to this. And after adding the rest of the recipes, we should now be able to request our crystal matrix ingots. We are short on dimensional shard though. I thought I had quite a lot of that stuff. I think this we can get from the end, so I'll probably go and gather a bunch of that, but for now, let's try and request one just to make sure it works. So we can get one with the materials we have. And so yeah, with that, that just leaves the dragon hearts for this Awakened Draconium block. And there's a reason I left this for last. So, to get dragon hearts, we can actually either kill a bunch of dragons, which is going to involve resummon them in the end, which takes these end crystals. And they're not the easiest things to make, but it is doable, it is an option. However, the other option we have in this pack is using Ice and Fire dragon hearts, and using a tier 6 blood altar with 10,000 LP to convert to the Draconic evolution hearts. And I'm leaning towards this way, however this does require upgrading our blood altar. So I've made some changes down here to the blood altar. We are still missing 2 more tiers from this thing. I think right now it's tier 4. The tier 5 we are missing a couple of runes on the end, and the tier 5 caps, and then the tier 6 we're missing all of these runes around the outside, and also the tier 6 caps. We also need this as part of the quest as well, so we may as well go this route. So to upgrade to tier 5 we need these Pharaoh's beacons, which requires some Vintium, which we have a lot of, some Nether Star lenses. This is quite easy, I think this is just Nether Star plates, and 4 blocks of Terra Steel. And we don't have any more Terra Steel left, which means we have to create more, and that is this recipe in the blast furnace. So we have another addition to our blast furnace array, and this pretty much completes the wall. We are full on blast furnaces. So this one is just done at cupronickel coils. The Terra Steel I think has to be 1700 as minimum heat. We're running this at EV, although we may overclock this, but it is only 25 seconds at HV, so I don't think it's going to be necessary. And again, this takes mana diamonds and mana steel, which we have quite a big backlog of. I'm just going to batch craft this stuff. And it also takes unstable mana. So I did hook up the inputs for that. We have the input hatch in the middle, taking unstable mana from this fluid interface. The output bus goes back to that interface over there, and the input is on this new interface here, which is set to blocking mode, and that's hooked up straight to the input bus. And we do have unstable mana on passive. It's in, I think, this drum over here, but we don't have access to our ME system. So to do that, we're going to put a fluid storage bus on this. So I think over here is the other side of that drum. We can partition this, set this to high priority, and plug it in. Device online. So now that new blast furnace should receive its fluid, we can import a recipe for Terra Steel, and we can put it in this interface here, and Terra Steel should now be automated. Assuming, of course, we actually plug in the interface. Alright, and then we just need the compressor recipe to turn into blocks. We can get our 4 Nether Star lenses. And we're just waiting on the blocks of Terra Steel crafting before we can get those beacons. However, as you've seen, we also need some blank runes. Well, maybe not blank, but we need runes for the altar. And in total, we need 75 runes to fill our altar, which is going to take a lot of blank slates. And the blank slates take arcane stone, which take nacre blocks. I think I do have some of this backlogged, but I don't know if you'll recall, we actually took down the automation for nacre, so I'm really hoping I don't have to set this back up. So luckily we have some runes left over actually, which is going to be enough, and it looks like we can even request an extra 20, which means we had enough nacre for this, and yeah, it means that we don't have to set up the nacre automation again. So yeah, that'll take us up to tier 5 once we have those beacons for here. The tier 6 needs those runes, and the altar caps for the tier 6 are the crystal clusters, which is the extra block we made earlier that we needed for as part of the chicken. So those should also be crafted by now. Yep, we have an extra 4 of those things, which we can use as the altar caps. So our blocks of Terra Steel have finished, which means we can get our 4 Pharaoh's beacons. And the slates have also finished crafting, which means we can craft our blank runes. And if we've built this correctly, we should see that the altar tier goes from tier 4 up to tier 6. No. Alright, let me double check the placement of these runes. I think I might have these too high. Okay, I just had this built wrong. So I had these final altar caps on this block space here. And moving this back does mean that we're 8 short, but I was able to find like a couple of blank runes in here and craft the rest of the runes that we need. So after we place these, we should see it turn to tier 6. And we have a tier 6 altar. Nice. So the capacity on this thing is still only 46,000. But if I remember, we only need 10,000 per heart. which really isn't too bad. So let's remove the blood orb and get this thing filling up. And let's also claim our quest rewards, and I think this will actually complete the blood magic chapter. So we get a dislocator and a pedestal for the tier 5. The next quest is for the ethereal slate, which takes the demonic slates and 30,000 LP in a tier 5 altar. Well, we can do that, I think. We should have... yeah, we've got some demonic slates here. And there's our ethereal and the quest. And then I guess we need the 4 crystal cluster blocks. And this gives us a advanced dislocator, another one. I think we already have one of these things. And some hearts. Very nice. So I was counting out how many blocks we actually need of Awakened Draconium, and I think we need 15 crafts to get the chicken. So we need 5 of this craft to get the 20 Awakened Draconium we need in the assembly line. And then these blocks of infinity, we need 4 blocks, so that's going to be 36 ingots, which is 9 crafts in this blast furnace with the infinity catalysts. And actually, does the infinity catalyst take any? No, but this definitely looks like a fun craft. We're going to get back to this though. So yeah, I think it's going to be 15 hearts that we need, and then obviously 30 Neutronium, 30 Crystal Matrix, and 15 Dragon Stones. And we already have 2 from fighting the 2 dragons that we fought. So now let's go and kill a bunch of dragons. So we're back here on Aurellia, and this I think is the best place for us to find dragons. Also very loud chickens. That's 1 down, 14 to go. I think we found our second one. Hello, dragon. Oh, this one is tough. Oh, we got the heart. And an egg, apparently. Dragon number 3. And number 4 and 5 here. Let's get 2 at once. Hello, guys. That was easy. I've lost track of what number this is, but another dragon. There you are, the last dragon. Apparently you can't fly. Alright, and there's a dungeon here as well. I may check that out. There's nothing really of value in that dungeon, just some stellar alloy, a bunch of the stuff we already had. So now with our 15 hearts we can dip these in our blood altar. And we get our other hearts. And that is heart number 15. Alright, and as you've seen there, I also went to the end to grab some more dimensional shards for the infused diamonds. So with that, let's start piecing together this craft for the amount of Awakened Draconium we need. And I double checked the maths on this, and I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. But I don't think we need quite as many as what I first thought. We actually only need 6 crafts of this Awakened Draconium, which means we need 24 charged Draconium. So I did already order that. That takes a while in the Sky Cauldron, but that's charging away. And then we need 12 Neutronium, 12 Crystal Matrix. The Crystal Matrix we have just finished crafting right now. The Neutronium we need 12, which means we need another 8. And we have all the stuff for this. So with that we can come over to our Fusion Crafter. We'll put in the Charged Draconium in the middle. And then the Dragon Stones, the Neutronium, the Crystal Matrix, and the Dragon Hearts. And we can craft Awakened Draconium. And this charges pretty quick. We have cryo-stabilized flux ducts on the back. And that's connected to our flux points on our Draconic energy core. So I think this step will be pretty fast. And that should actually also be a quest, is it not? I guess not. I guess we need the Awakened cores. Which I think we'll leave till later on until we get the Infinity Chicken, and then we can make them this way using Thaumcraft. So I'm just waiting on the rest of the Charged Draconium, and then we'll have the rest of the Awakened Draconium. And let's also start laying out what ingredients we already have for the chicken. So the stem cells we have, the corrupted glitch hearts we have, the crystal clusters we have, the Awakened Draconium we're crafting, the chaos shards, we have one of those. And that just leaves the crystal matrix blocks, the neutronium blocks, and the infinity blocks. The neutronium, like I mentioned, I don't think we've got enough light fuel, but again, I'm putting that off again. We're going to come back to this. The crystal matrix blocks, let's try and request another 16 of those blocks. And we are short some star metal, dimensional shards, and nether stars. So the dimensional shard, it only took me like 2 or 3 minutes to go and grab the 1,000 or so I got, so I think I'll just go and get some more from the end. The star metal, we have a lot more ores that we haven't processed yet. We have 483, and as far as I know, the only way to process this is just to macerate this. So to increase the chance output, I think we'll actually make a better macerator. And why not make it at LUV tier, right? So we'll request one of these things. This has to go through the assembly line though, so it might take a while to craft. And then the nether stars, we have dust that was being made passively here through our chicken. We may actually want to speed this up at some point. So let's throw this in the implosion compressor. And just see if we have enough. That does give us enough to be able to craft the crystal matrix blocks. So let me gather the rest of the dimensional shard and melt the star metal ingots. So we got enough dimensional shard to craft the crystal matrix. These are just finishing up. And so with that just leaves us with the neutronium blocks and our infinity blocks. So let's just see how far away we are from 8 blocks of neutronium. So we have 2,000 and we need another almost 3,000 TNT. So we definitely will need to increase our TNT production. And I also realised that we need more neutronium in the creation of these infinity catalysts, which is the next step for the infinity ingots. So let's do these neutronium next. So what we're going to do to fix the toluene issue is we're going to use this recipe here in the distillery, which means we have to create some more heavy fuel. And we are actually creating heavy fuel in I think a few different places, but what we're going to do is just set up a separate system for this. So to get heavy fuel, we are going to make some crystallized oil, and this is made from regular oil and crystallized canola seeds. We actually already have a setup which makes crystallized oil over here, but this is in a MV chemical bath and it's quite slow. So I think what I'll do is actually just leave this and we'll create a new one over here at IV. So I have this chemical bath with a roost on the side. We're going to put a conveyor module set to import and set our canola chickens in here. So these canola seeds we have to mix with mineral, which we can get from our applied energistic system. So we can put down an interface, ask for mineral, and we'll put a pump on the side of the machine set to import. So this is going to give us our mineral. We have to give this some power, so we've got a flux point. And I think the wrong cable here. Yeah, we're not getting enough energy. This should be, I think, stellar alloy. Yeah, this is the IV one. I was using the EV cable. Yeah, so now we're getting crystallized canola, which we have to send into a mixer. So we're just going to auto output that into the mixer. This also has to get oil. So to get more oil, I've crafted a new fluid pump. I'm just going to leave the other one that we had. So we're just going to set this one up exactly as the other one is. We will put a range add-on in, a spectre coil on the side, and then connect this to a fluid transfer node. And we can even set a dislocator over here. We'll link the GPS to this mixer, and then put the marker back in the fluid transfer node. And that will send all the oil into that mixer. So now we're getting our crystallized oil. We can auto output that to another distillery on circuit 1. This will turn it into heavy fuel. And that's going to go into the last distillery where it will turn it into toluene, which is on circuit 1 again, which we somehow have to hook up to the newer system that we built yesterday over there, which actually should just be as easy as hooking up a fluid conduit and sending it directly into this interface. So we can just extract this on blue. And because this chemical reactor pulls its toluene from our ME system, all the toluene will end up here and produces more gelled toluene. And hopefully this should see us through to the end of the pack. If not, there is one more option we could do to get gelled toluene, and that is to use wood tar, which we have a big excess of this, but this is not a very good ratio. Oh yeah, this system is running very nicely. And by the looks of things, we may have to actually add some more distilleries. I don't know, we'll see. Although this chemical reactor does have some downtime, but it looks like it's every 2 or 3 seconds it gives us 2 toluene, which I think is going to be acceptable. There's a few other things we have to still do. Alright, so moving on to the last step of the Infinity Chicken, which is the Infinity Blocks. And this is going to take some Awakened Draconium, which we have made already. The Argon, this is basically free. And Infinity Catalysts. So this thing is going to take some work to do. And yeah, this again takes some Neutronium, some flux blocks. We should be able to make the flux blocks. Blocks of silicon rubber, this is going to be no problem as well. The hardened Inderium glass, this is what? Inderium ingots, which we have automated, and hardened glass is obsidian lead. Yeah, let me put in the recipes for this. Alright, so that's our Inderium glass automated. Again, I'll have to calculate out how many of these we actually need, but it's not going to be that many. But I guess the last step in this is the empowered diamantine crystals, and also these advanced alchemical constructs. And these things, I think, are going to be the last major hurdle that we have to cross. I could be wrong though. Anyways, this requires iron plates, essentia valves, essentia tubes, greatwood planks, void metal plates, and primordial pearls. Actually, let me count this out just to see what sort of magnitude of numbers we're working with here. Okay, so we actually only need 9 infinity catalysts, which means it's 9 alchemical constructs. And yeah, let's start with the alchemical constructs. So we need 9 of these things. And we actually don't have an assembler with unstable mana inside, so let's just make another one. Okay, so we got our assembler placed, and I encoded the recipe for these alchemical constructs. However, I removed the primordial pearl, as this actually does have NBT data on it. Basically, you can have 9 uses per the primordial pearl, but I believe for this recipe it actually does consume it. But the recipe for these we're going to come back to in a second. But for the 9 alchemical constructs, we're only missing some essentia tubes and valves, which is made in the arcane workbench. So there is some essentia tubes. Apparently only 1, we need more brass rods. And then to make the valves, we just combine the tubes with the levers, or with a lever. Alright, so we crafted up the valves, that just leaves the primordial pearl, which luckily we actually got from a quest, I believe. We got one of the nodules, which is the version of the primordial pearl which has less durability. And so for the recipe we actually need the full durability one. So to make this the full durability, I believe we can use the sky cauldron and mix with some high covalence dust and starlight. And we have some high covalence. I think we may have to make some more of this stuff though. But we already have our starlight in the back, so we can put both the inputs into the input bus. This is going to consume 1 durability on the pearl and give us a fresh new one, and also consume the high covalence dust. So I think we will actually have to make another one of these things. So the cauldron just finished with its craft, and it gave us 2 fresh primordial pearls. However, I believe with these we can't actually use them as the full durability ones to give us more. We have to have durability taken off of it to be able to duplicate it in the sky cauldron. And to take durability off it, I think we have to use infusion crafting, which means that we have to pick probably the easiest recipe that uses a primordial pearl, which I think is actually going to be this Void Seer's pearl. So the recipe for this requires a void seed, a fancy amulet in the middle, the primordial pearl, and 2 zombie brains. And we also need 100 precantatio, 150 vacuous, and 150 cognito. Let me make sure we have those here. So for the cognito, we're going to burn some bookshelves. The vacuous, we need, I think, probably buckets is the easiest. That's going to be a lot of buckets though. Oh well, we have infinite iron basically. So a really cool trick for precantatio, if you're looking for it, is to use sponges from the transmutation tablet. We can create a bunch of sponge chisel heads, and also a bunch of sponge tool rods, and then just put those together in the tool forge under the chisel. And each of these have 9 precantatio each. Yeah, this gives a really easy way to get precantatio. Let's also just make sure we're not making too much mess over here. The automated user over there is not quite in range of these chunks, so that gives us enough aspects to start this craft. And let's just time in a bottle this thing. So that gives us the Void Seer's pearl, which I'm not really that bothered about, to be honest. What we're after is the primordial pearl. But yeah, as you can see, this has durability taken off of it, so we can throw this in the sky cauldron. Alright, so that gave me about a stack of high covalence dust, of which we can put in the sky cauldron, and I'm going to make up enough for the 9 primordial pearls. So I didn't have quite enough durability for all of the primordial pearls we need, so we need to craft another amulet. So with that, we can now request our 9 alchemical constructs. That's going to put all the items into this interface, where we just have to manually put in the pearls. There's our 9 right there. It looks like it just finished. And nice, we're getting our alchemical construct, which I think is actually the hardest part of this, of these infinity catalysts. All we have left is to collect enough TNT for the Neutronium blocks, some silicon rubber, which we're already producing, I just have to make that into blocks, and then empowered diamantine is mana pearls, which we have automated, flawless diamonds, which we used earlier, And we still have thousands of these things. And the diamantine crystals we're getting from ore processing. So yeah, that just has to go on the terrestrial agglomeration plate. But we're running a little bit long on this episode, so I think we're going to cut it here. And we'll come back next time to hopefully make our Infinity Chicken. We should have enough TNT built up for the Neutronium by next episode. And then after that, it's just going to be cleaning up the quests. And then, yeah, we're going to be more or less finished with the pack. So make sure you cast your vote in the poll in the description. But that's going to do us for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more FTB interactions.